A strange and mythical book without origin, with no known author nor editor, appeared in 1639 in Prague. It was written in an unknown language, illustrated with unknown plants and places, and its pages, written on calfskin vellum, dated back to the early 1400s. Who wrote this book and why? Where did it come from, and what secrets do its pages hold?
There have been reports of strange creatures in the area.
Witnesses say they couldn't believe what they were seeing.
What is that? Welcome, beloved fofers, doubters, naysayers, non-believers and skeptics. Welcome to Paranormal Fable or Fact. I am Victor Trevino, joined by my co-host and beautiful wife, Tammy.
We are your humble guides to tales of alleged hoaxes, unbelievable stories, and the overall strange.
Beautiful. Okay, we want to mention the email, of course. It's pfableorfact@proton.me. And it's in the show notes. And also we have a new Facebook page, which is exactly the same thing. P-Fable or P-Fable.
No, it's Paranormal Fable
sorry.
or Fact.
Paranormal Fable or Fact. With a colon. Paranormal : Fable or Fact.
On the Facebook, go on there and like it. And all our shows are on it too.
I want to talk about why we have a late posting this week. I was using Podcastle to not only record, but also to edit all of our episodes, and it decided to bug, and we were 3 weeks ahead on shows, and it bugged two of the shows that one of them was already completely finished and edited, and the other one was half finished and edited, and we had just recorded a new show, which I swiped off of Podcastle, and now we're using another recording and editing platform. But basically, it took us from being 3 weeks ahead to being a week behind. So thank you, Podcastle, for making one of my perfect episodes in a perpetual state of being frozen where I couldn't export it off of Podcastle to use it, and then muting the other one. Thank you. So that's my...
Venting.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to mention Podcastle because I didn't want to... they worked great for months, but at the end there, it was just a nightmare. So if you're new to doing podcasts, I would not touch Podcastle with a 10-foot pole, in my opinion. Okay, also, we're changing the way we record. We're turning up the gain. So unfortunately, because we're turning up the gain on our microphone, you're going to hear our chairs creaking, you're going to hear the mouse clicks, you're going to hear all that, primarily because I want to be able to, I think it's more important to be able to hear us so that I don't have to subdue the background noise as much. Of course, it might not have anything to do with the gain. It might have been Podcastle. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We might not even have to make any adjustments. So
once again, we are not professionals.
Yes. We are not professional podcasters. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's get into the gist.
Okay,
this show is called Voynich to Beyond. And of course, this is the second time we're recording this, which really sucks. But I guess they didn't need to know. Yeah, they do need to know that because I'm still upset about it.
Yes, he is. So here we go.
Okay, this is about the Voynich Manuscript, which normally I would say, baby, you know what the Voynich Manuscript is, right? And you'd look at me with the deer in the headlights look. But no, you've already done the show, so you know exactly what we're talking about.
Now I know what it is.
If you've never seen the Voynich Manuscript, you have to. As a matter of fact, when I post this episode, I'm going to post the link to it because Yale University has scanned the entire book so that you can look at every single page. You absolutely have to at least take a look at it once. Absolute must. Because then you'll be scratching your head going, what is this?
And what are they talking about?
And what are we talking about? Yes. Okay, the book's first mention was from a 17th century alchemist named George Berish from Prague. Berish learned of a Jesuit scholar at Roman College who had published an Egyptian dictionary. And in that dictionary, he had claimed to have been able to decipher the Egyptian hieroglyphs. And his name was Athanasius Kircher. Athanasius is too hard of a name to say, so hereforth he is Kircher. So in 1639, Berish sent samples of the book to Kircher in the hopes of getting it deciphered. And when you look at the Voynich Manuscript, you're going to see why he wanted help deciphering it. Because, like it says in the intro, it's in an unknown language. It's written in an unknown language. But we'll get into more of that when we get into the red flags. And this, when he sent samples, this is the earliest mention of the Voynich Manuscript as far as anyone knows. After Berish died, his friend Marcy sent the entire book to Kircher. So apparently Kircher didn't respond.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And there were pages missing. There is pages still missing to this day from the Voynich Manuscript. So they think when he must have like torn out pages and was sending them to Kircher.
Sending them to him, yeah.
Trying to get him to, hey, look at this,
Yeah.
And then I guess Kircher never responded because his buddy, after Berish died, his buddy Marcy sent the entire thing and said, here, Kircher, just take
here you
it.
go.
Just take it.
Okay.
Just get it out of my face.
Right.
Whatever. So he also sent along a Latin cover letter. And this was either in the year 1665 or 1666. They're not sure. The book probably remained with Kircher at the Roman College for at least the next 200 years. So they probably just threw it in storage or something.
Yeah.
And then it basically moved around. There was some sales of like a smaller church owned it or something. Well, I think what happened is the college changed and they sold it. And then there was a smaller church that purchased it. And then that church closed down. So they purchased it. They sold it with a lot to I believe it was the Vatican.
Okay.
But before the Vatican could pick it up, right around the year 1912, Wilfrid Voynich, went in there and bought it before it was shipped away. And that's who it's named after is Voynich.
Okay.
Yes. So Voynich spent years trying to get scholars to decipher this book while he attempted to uncover its origin.
Okay.
Because no one knew where it was from. No one knew who wrote it. And no one knew what the heck it said. It's got some goofy drawings in there. Crude, rudimentary drawings, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, after Voynich's death, his widow Ethel Voynich kept it until her death in 1960, where she left it to her very close friend, Anne Nill. So Anne then sold the book to an antique book dealer named Hans P. Krauss, who couldn't find a buyer for it. So he kept it for about 9 years, where he donated it to Yale University in 1969, where it remains to this day. And again, Yale is the one that scanned it, and they have it on this really cool website. You can look, it's fascinating. But anyway, that's basically the gist.
Okay.
So let's move on to the red flags.
Okay.
Oh, we're just moving right along, huh?
Yeah, we're moving smoothly.
You know why? Because we're not going into all of our typical
We've already been there, done that.
digress. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we already know what we did and
Yeah.
what I cut out last time. But anyway, so the first red flag. Only a few of the illustrations of the plants within the Voynich Manuscript. All right, it's taking too long to say Voynich Manuscript every time. Hereforth, it's going to be the VM.
Okay.
The VM. Okay. Only a few of the illustrations of plants within the VM can be identified. Most of them are unknown, possibly made up, or do not exist in our dimension or time.
Interesting.
Maybe even from an alien planet. I don't know. But there's some crazy plant drawings in there that are very detailed. Root systems and everything, seeds, even little drawings of like the cutaways and cross sections and everything. It's well, once the listeners go and look at it, and they'll see what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Another red flag: many people have claimed to solve the cipher of the VM over the years, but all of them have come up short. To this day, it's still considered not deciphered, so nobody really knows what it is. The words, and I say that with quotes, the words in the VM are considered either an unknown language or a completely made-up language, which is what we basically kind of lean towards. Yeah. No punctuation whatsoever on any of the wording, which is really odd because I can't think of any language that doesn't have some type of punctuation.
Punctuation?
Yeah. And there are 7 large foldouts in this book. I don't think, and they have real crude drawings, but they're very elaborate drawings. Mm-hmm. The first time we recorded on the VM, I don't think I mentioned this. The book's only like 9 by 6 or something.
Yeah, it's not a very big book.
It's a very small book.
Yeah, because the website makes it seem like it's a bigger than it is.
Well, when you hear the term manuscript, I'm thinking like this big old tome, tome that you like have to open with 2 hands,
Especially as old as it's considered.
Yeah.
You're
the pages are going to be all thick and, just monstrous heavy book. No, it's just a little it looks like something you could get out of the library. I mean, it's not very big.
Yeah.
Which is a trip.
Yeah.
Some of the illustrations show people, and I have it in quotes that says possibly, because in my opinion, some of the representations of what are supposed to be women or men don't look like women or men. They look odd.
Okay.
Could just be the person doesn't know how to draw correctly.
Yeah.
Or it could be not people. They could be like some kind of aliens or something. I don't know. Or different dimensional people or something.
Yeah.
But that's just in my opinion. And in the illustrations, they're either using very odd, strange machines, or they're engaging in very odd group activities. A lot of them seem to be like some kind of pools or liquids or baths or something. It's real weird. You'd have to, once you see the pictures, exactly what we're talking about. Okay, now this is a big one. This is a big red flag. You know what? We shouldn't even call these red flags because these are just facts.
Yeah, they are. They're facts. They're not really red flags.
Yeah, because this is going to be one of the episodes where there's no
debate.
Yeah, there's no skeptic. Well, there is a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of skepticism. Everybody knows it exists. You can look at it. It's scanned. It's not something that's debated over.
Right.
Whether it's real or any of that. So these aren't real red flags. These are just oddities that stand out to me. And then when we get into the inarguable truths, they're not going to really be inarguable truths. We're going to discuss the different theories and voice our opinion on them. The calfskin vellum, and you know the difference between vellum and paper, right?
Sure.
Really? We discussed this last time?
I know, but I already forgot.
Oh. Well.
So why don't we tell the folk first?
Okay, vellum is, like it says, calfskin. It's made out of animal skin. Paper is pulped wood, and papyrus is usually pulped fibrous plant.
Okay.
But it's all the same kind of stuff. And vellum, from what I understand, even today, I think vellum's really expensive.
Yeah.
And it would have been really expensive back then, especially when you see the way it looks and the way it's held and the way it's lasted so long. I mean, we're talking about the calfskin vellum it was printed on dates back to the 15th century, around between the years of 1404 and 1438. So you're looking at over 700 years,
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
which is
That's a
insane.
long time.
Well, like over 600 years.
Yeah.
600 years.
Yeah.
And it looks the way it looks. So, I mean, they might have taken really good care of it, but still, it's still impressive.
Yeah.
So for 200 years between 1404 and 1636-ish, the whereabouts of the book are unknown, because remember, the first mention was when he was attempting to send samples to Kircher, Barrich, in 1639. And they know that he purchased the book at around between 1635 and 1636, because that's what he said, or his wife said, that he purchased it around. So they didn't. So between when the vellum is dated and when Barrich purchased the book, or it came into his possession, they have no idea where the book was. No idea. Of course, there's hints on it of where it might have been, because the cover letter sent by his buddy Marcy after Barrich died, remember Marcy sent that cover letter?
Yes.
The cover letter is written in Latin. So basically, in the cover letter, there's references to it being owned by 2 emperors. Both of them were Bohemian. One of them was an Emperor Rudolph, and I can't remember the other emperor off the top of my head. But it also mentioned a doctor owning it, and there is evidence that Emperor Rudolph might have owned the book, because on the first page there is now, because it's so old, it's nearly invisible, but you can see an imprint of the signature in the VM of a Jacobus Horsicki de Tepinish. Tepinish?
Sure.
You're
We'll
not gonna,
say that.
You're not going to make an attempt?
No.
Good.
I can barely speak English.
He was the head of Emperor Rudolph's botanical gardens in Prague.
Okay.
So he's a real person. So the cover letter sent by Marcy mentions, these emperors owned it, and this doctor owned it. And so you might look at that and roll your eyes and go, oh yeah, I'm sure an emperor wrote. But here's this guy's name in the VM, and this guy worked directly for the Emperor Rudolph. So
Okay. Sounds good.
the last note or red flag is there is evidence that the VM was touched up, which is very odd. And they don't know when it was touched up. They don't know who touched it up. But there's evidence that the ink had started to fade in certain spots.
Yeah, and
somebody went through
there and darkened it.
Yeah, and there's little doubt that either the old kind of metal ink pens were used or a quill.
Oh, okay.
Of how the ink is laid out.
Yeah.
That's what experts found. And I don't remember what the testing was on the ink or whatever, but that's what they discovered.
Gotcha.
And that's pretty much...
the red flags. Or
that
the... whatever you want to call it.
pretty much covers the...
The red flags.
Yeah, so let's get into some of the theories.
Okay.
Because some of them are out there.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to list them, and then we'll go back and talk about each one.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw this out there right off the bat without even trying to defend it. I don't even really want to discuss it.
Yeah.
And that's the first theory. And here's where we get into the debunkers. Because one of the first theories is it's a hoax. And not only is the VM a hoax, but the cover letter sent by Marcy is also a hoax.
Okay.
So
it's all fake.
Just all garbage.
Okay.
Which I vehemently
do not agree.
Just dismiss. I don't even think...
You don't even want to talk about it.
We're talking about a book with elaborate, although crude or rudimentary drawings.
Right.
It's 170,000 characters.
Wow.
240 pages.
It's a lot to fake.
That's a lot to fake.
That's a lot to fake.
And I think it's like 13,000 words.
And to go over it again to fake.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not only that, remember, it was printed on vellum.
Yeah.
Which was expensive.
Yes.
You had to bind it.
Yeah.
So that it's in a book form. That costs money and time.
Right.
that just seems very elaborate for someone to go, "Ha, fooled you."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very expensive hoax.
Yeah, it just, I just don't,
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Okay.
It just, so I just completely reject that idea, the very first one.
first theory.
So there's really nothing to discuss there,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
So we'll just move on.
Right.
That it's just a hoax and I got you all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Way too much time. You're talking weeks of work to fake this thing.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next theory. And these aren't the only theories. These are just the ones that stuck out, or these are the ones that I guess more people got behind, or these are theories that people actually did works on, like, they wrote a book on it, or
Okay.
they have a running website on
Yeah.
it, or they made a documentary or
Right.
something. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
They really pushed their
for
idea.
it, yeah.
So these aren't the only theories.
Yeah, the strongest theories.
Yes. And then one of the other theories that I didn't write down, because I don't want to say because I don't support it, because I do, the idea of it. Somebody threw out there that it was a copy, a hasty copy of an original,
Oh, okay.
which kind of makes sense because when you look at some of the
That's
drawings and stuff,
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
it does look rushed.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So if this is, and I think the point they were trying to make is, if this is a copy of an original, that means the original, we have no idea how old that is.
Yeah.
I mean, because this one's dated back to 1400s, and we don't even know if that's when it was actually written. That's just how old the paper is.
Yeah.
So it might have been written a little later than that. It might have been, whatever.
Yeah.
But it might have been written, well, it couldn't have been written any earlier than that because the paper.
Yeah, the paper,
So,
yeah.
but if it was a copy of an original,
Correct.
who knows when the original,
Yeah,
and we just don't have it, maybe it was destroyed or whatever.
because the copy could have been on older paper.
But I thought that was a
vellum.
fascinating,
Yeah, that is fascinating.
because
I
when
don't
you,
remember you mentioning that in
I think
our
I-
first draft.
our first go around,
Yeah.
I think I did.
Or maybe I don't remember.
I think I did.
Okay.
But anyway, let's move on.
All right.
So the second theory is and I think this is the one that's mostly accepted by academia.
Okay.
Most
By
believe
they.
what?
By they.
Yes, they. With a capital T. They believe that it's some type of pharmaceutical or medicinal compendium. So the next theory,
Okay, wait. Compendium is...
a collection of works
Okay, thank
within
you.
one work.
Okay, thank you. That was for you, Fofers. I already knew.
Yeah, you knew. Anyway, the next theory, and this is where you start to get
Yeah, we're going down the...
way out there.
Yeah.
It describes some sort of alien technology from the future for creating DNA using sound.
Alrighty.
The next theory, because we're going to have fun talking about
Yeah.
these. It's linked to the Book of Enoch.
Okay.
Next theory, it's a recipe book written in Old Latin. Next, it's a hygiene manual. Next, it's related to Kabbalah, which can only be made sense of if you are versed in numerology. And then the final one we have written down, it is related to the Fountain of Youth with possible links to Ponce de Leon.
Wow.
Way out there.
That's a lot of theories.
Okay, yeah, because nobody knows what it is.
Right.
Nobody knows anything about it. So now we're going to discuss the theories. The second theory, which is which is the pharmaceutical or medicinal compendium. I'm down with that. I can get behind that idea because of all the herbs.
Right, in the plants that you
Yeah.
said that were in there, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're my only, just to be the devil's advocate and to try to be as arbitrary as possible,
Yeah.
my only possible critique of that theory is since we don't know what the plants are, is it realistic to assume that they're medicinal?
Oh, okay.
Do you see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I see what
You
you're
have
saying.
to assume,
Yeah.
and that's assuming a lot. So, because we don't know what if they're poisonous plants?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What if they're not plants at all?
Yeah.
What if they're inedible plants? What if they're edible?
Yeah.
You know, what if we're talking about food?
Well,
Because
that's true.
we don't know what the plants are.
Yeah, because
So you have to assume a lot.
yeah.
And I that's the only issue I have with just saying, oh yeah, it's some kind of compendium where, you know, it's yes, it's just medicine and pharmaceutical. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of
Yeah.
course, yes.
Yes.
So that's the only issue. Other than that, I can kind of get behind it, except for like some of the maps and stuff. And I think I don't think academia thinks it's just about pharmaceuticals. There's also like that it's a compendium with like, you know, relations to like astronomy and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of like there's actual constellations
Oh, okay.
in it too. So
Okay.
they say that it might have something to do with astronomy or astrology or whatever.
Okay.
So it's just a compendium is basically what they're
Gotcha.
saying. Somebody just took notes and just threw them in this little book.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. There's a lot of assuming that has to do. That's the only issue that I have with that theory. So let's move on to the next theory, which is it describes alien technology from the future for creating DNA with sound. Okay,
I'm so confused with that one. That's probably why
Well,
you're laughing. Yeah, my face, I don't have a poker face.
to
So.
me, that theory can be broken down into like 3 different theories. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you could just say, okay, it's describing alien technology. That's one theory.
Yeah.
It's from the future.
That's a theory.
That's another theory. And then the third and final theory, it's a book about creating DNA using sound.
Okay.
But whoever came up with this theory didn't bother with that. They just went all,
Yeah. All 3.
let's just pile them in there.
Let's just put the whole thing together.
Yeah. So for this version of the VM of, you know, Voynich
Yeah.
and beyond, I would like to try to explain each one and discuss each one as 3 separate theories.
Okay.
Because
okay. Let's do it.
it's too easy to dismiss.
Yes.
If you just pile it all in there.
Pile all 3. Yeah.
So the idea that it's some book on alien technology, etc., or anything like that, I can get behind. Because
Okay.
again, a lot of the machinery,
And
completely
the plans.
unknown. The humans, quote unquote humans that are drawn in it, very odd looking, could easily be argued that, oh, that's some type of alien race or
Yeah.
unknown beings that are from, you know, Data Quadrant
Yeah.
Calabrium
and then you
or
said
whatever.
something about the stars.
Then there's references to the stars, references to the constellation. I
Okay.
could totally see that. Plus, like I said, the machinery and some of the stuff that the quote-unquote people are doing in the VM are weird looking. They're odd.
Okay.
They don't seem like the type of machinery that we use now.
Right.
Or we used back then.
Okay.
So I can get behind that. Of course, you have to completely accept the idea that there's extraterrestrials out there, right? And they're just floating around and doing whatever they're doing.
With technology. Yeah.
So if we're willing to embrace the idea that extraterrestrials are real, I can
Then
get behind
You can get behind
alien
this.
technology.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, for the second one, which is it's from the future, again, I can get behind it.
Okay.
Because if it's from another time, or maybe let's just throw it, it's from another time to
Okay.
broaden
Okay.
the theory.
Right.
I could totally get behind that too, because these plants might be from the past, and they're not in the fossil record for some reason,
Yeah.
or they are from the future, and that's why the plants and some of the drawings and the machinery and even the people
Or different looking.
are different looking, odd looking, because
Yeah.
when you look and here I'm gonna have to go off on a tangent, but it's absolute must. It's not digressing because we're still talking about the illustrations. The people, particularly the women, and the only reason I reference them as women is because number one, they have long hair,
Okay.
And number 2, they have breasts.
Okay.
Very small breasts.
Okay.
Arguably, maybe they're young women, maybe adolescent,
Okay.
prepubescent, or maybe just post-pubescent young girls, like really young girls.
Yeah.
But they have odd-looking heads, odd-looking bodies. They're very, almost like a piggish look to them. Heads are way too big. There's very little differences in what they look like the hairstyles, everything. Some of them are wearing like tiaras.
Tiaras?
Yeah, tiaras.
Yeah.
Whatever. But other than that, they're like clones of each other,
Okay.
which is odd.
Which, okay.
Because back then, in the 1400s, there was a melting pot.
Yeah.
Especially in the Bohemian area, which is, I think it's modern-day Czechoslovakia. So you had the Slavic people. You had Greeks right there. You had the Italians right there.
Yeah.
A little further north, you've got Germanic people from Germany and stuff. Right across the way there's Russia and Ukraine and all those other countries. So you have this kind of melting pot. And then right below, across the Mediterranean Sea, there's Africa.
Yeah.
Egyptians, Arabic people. Turkey's right across from Greece.
Yeah.
Right across the Black Sea there. Is it the Black Sea? I think it's the Black Sea. Yeah, it's right across there from Turkey. Turkish or Turkish people, dark-skinned. So why would you draw... My point is, why would you draw...
Them all the same?
Them all the same. You'd have some with dark hair, some with blonde hair, some with red hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some with darker skin, some with lighter skin.
I guess.
To make them all look identical, I don't think that's a mistake. I think it was purposefully done.
Okay.
So the idea that maybe they're clones or from the future, from the past, or something weird, or aliens,
Yeah. You could get on that.
I just don't throw it out.
Okay. You don't throw it out. I
Right.
gotcha.
Okay, so now the idea of creating DNA with sound, I could have spent time looking up that theory and how they're going to argue that,
Yeah,
but
that one hurts my brain. I
don't even see how you're even getting to that.
No, that's just...
To me, there's no mention of DNA. I don't see anything that even resembles a DNA strand. Or
No.
Again, what DNA?
Yeah.
Whose DNA?
Yeah, whose DNA?
Is it animal? Baby,
Yeah.
there's drawings of dragons
Yeah.
in the VM.
Right.
We're talking about fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
There's like castles and ramparts and
Right.
like I said, that the pullouts. I mean, they got these like weird island area that look like islands or some kind of maybe even land bridges. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a very odd book. So where are you getting DNA from that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows?
And then with sound, you're creating DNA with sound. I mean, that's a stretch.
Yeah,
you know what I
it
mean?
is.
So that one, that's another one that I just kind of reject. I don't understand how you even get to that. But then when you put all three of them together, alien technology from the future, creating DNA with sound, oh, man, you just lost me.
Yeah.
Completely lost me.
I was lost when you first said it.
So the next theory
Uh-huh.
is it's linked to the Book of Enoch. Now, for those of you listening that don't know what the Book of Enoch is, it was one of the books that was removed from the Bible. The first Book of Enoch talks about this order of angels called the Watchers, or the Grigori. They were supposed to watch people, keep an eye on us.
Yeah, but they did a little more than watching, didn't they?
They got handsy.
Yeah, little handsy.
They got a little familiar.
Little too familiar.
Yeah, they
If you know what I
apparently
mean.
took human wives
Right.
and begot this race.
Look at you, begot.
Well, because that's the
Yeah,
term.
I get it.
They begot this race called the Nephilim,
Right.
which is supposed to be these giants with like 6 fingers and 6 toes and cannibalistic and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Superhuman strength and all this odd stuff. What's crazy about that is it didn't stop there. That's where most people focus the Book of Enoch on, is just this breeding of these angels with humans and the Nephilim. That's it. They stopped there. But that's not entirely true. The Book of Enoch goes on to describe these watchers breeding with everything that swims, flies, or crawls.
Well, that's interesting.
Right. So it not just humans, they were breeding with animals as well. And who knows what kind of hybrids they created. Then it's fascinating when you look at history and ancient folklore and mythology. Like Greek folklore, just for example, you have centaurs, which are half horse, half human. You have satyrs, which are half goat, half human. You have harpies, which are half eagle, half human.
Yeah.
Mermaids. I mean, mermaids are all over the world. The Naga and all this kind of stuff. These half-human hybrids. The Egyptians, you see half-human. You see human hybrids in the Egyptian mythology as well. You know, with the bird heads.
So do you think that's kind of like why the drawings are odd?
Possibly, I
Is
don't know.
that where they think they got the theory?
Possibly, I don't know. I'm just going off on a tangent
Right,
with the Book of Enoch. But I just think it's fascinating that the Book of Enoch claims all this wild stuff, but then it's not the only book that's making reference to this.
Right.
That there is other evidence of human hybrid and stuff going on and other.
So do you think you could back that?
Well, no, because no.
Okay.
Because there's no. I don't think those are human hybrids.
There's nothing. Yeah, I didn't see anything that would lead to any of that theory.
Unless maybe it's like I don't know. I don't see it. I can't get behind it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
There's nothing. Of course, I haven't studied it, and I haven't studied the argument for it being referenced to the Book of Enoch.
Right.
But when you talk about what the Book of Enoch's about, I just don't see the relation.
Right.
So, the next theory, it's a recipe book written in Old Latin.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Well, remember, the crazy thing is, I don't even know how you can propose that. Because
I don't either.
Remember, the quote-unquote women in the VM are like bathing or lying in these pools of water.
Yeah. So what are you saying? They're cooking?
What is it, a cannibal recipe?
Yeah. That's
of course,
scary.
assuming that they're human,
right.
But still.
But still. No,
Very
I don't think
odd.
so. I can't get on that.
The reference to Old Latin goes to this one really famous, I mean, he came out in magazines and stuff. This guy came out and said that he had solved it. And he claimed it was written in what was called, I believe it was rough Latin. And he had all these words, and he used the existing vocabulary, because there is a vocabulary of the writing in the Voynich, in the VM. But it hasn't been totally deciphered yet. So they've only picked out like certain letters and stuff. And who knows if that's even accurate.
Even correct, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, but I guess he took that and kind of took a mishmash of different Latin words and Greek words and languages, Latin languages from that area, and kind of made these words and then claimed that was what was called rough Latin. But linguists and specialists in like ancient texts and translators and stuff, they just completely bombarded this guy and said, no, you're basically just making up words.
Blew his theory out of
just
the water.
Completely destroyed it and showed how it was basically coming out to gibberish, even though he was claiming it was forming words and sentences, and they were just like, no, you're talking nonsense. So he basically pulled it out of his butt. What it boils down to. So that's the reference of Old Latin. But I think there is a language called Old Latin.
Probably.
Different dialect or whatever.
Probably.
But anyway. Okay, so can you get behind that one, the recipe book?
No.
Me neither. That one I don't know. I just don't see how you could even. So the next theory, it's a hygiene manual. Now this one I can kind of see because again, there's a lot of people bathing using machinery that could possibly be for sanitation or hygiene or steaming or whatever. Maybe some of the plants are related to soap.
Maybe.
Soap manufacturing, cleaning, I don't know. Antibacterials, maybe? I don't know.
I didn't think about that.
So the whole hygiene manual, I think that's a little simplistic, but at least I can see some kind of relation
Okay.
to what's in the VM to a hygiene manual. What about you?
No. No. I don't see it.
You're just rejecting everything.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
Okay. The next theory, it's related to Kabbalah, which can only make sense if one is versed in numerology. Again, this one can be broken into two.
Yes, it can.
Which is somehow it's related to Kabbalah, and then you have to be versed in numerology in order to make sense of it.
Right.
But I don't think there's enough there for us to split it like the other one.
No,
so
there's
let's
not.
leave it together. Okay, so what is Kabbalah?
Oh, you're asking? I don't I don't know.
It's
I thought you were gonna say it.
It's a branch of the Jewish religion.
Okay.
I know this. I think it's a more mystical
Do they
take.
use numerology?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know enough about it.
yeah.
But I think, and I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, don't hate me. But I believe it's more of a mystical look at the Jewish religion.
Okay.
I believe in Kabbalah is where they summon the golem,
Okay.
where they write the word life
Yeah.
on like a rock or dirt
Yeah.
figurine, and
Yeah.
it comes to life to
Yeah.
protect the Jewish people and stuff. I believe those were the Hebrews back then. They were still Hebrews back then. But anyway, I think that's what Kabbalah's linked to.
Okay.
Now, the whole numerology thing, I don't know. To me, numerology is so up in the air anyway. To me, it's kind of like astrology.
Yeah.
Very broad
Yeah.
terms.
Yeah.
You know, you add numbers up and
Yeah.
for your name and your birthday, and it's
Right.
supposed to mean something. And
Yeah. Your whole future and everything.
yeah, it's just, I don't know. If you
Yeah.
want to support it, good for you.
Yeah,
To me,
I
think
just don't know a lot about both, so I can't back this.
I could.
I can't back it.
Well, I don't know how it's related to numerology when there's no numbers.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I guess you could count things in the book and maybe add them up or something. I don't know. But,
I don't know.
again, to me, numerology's garbage anyway. So, and that's just my opinion.
Just his opinion, anyway.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, moving on.
Yeah. And the last one?
Related to the Fountain of Youth with possible connections to Ponce de Leon. The only thing I can see
Is when they're bathing.
is when
For
they're
the Fountain
bathing.
of Youth. That's the only thing I can see.
Maybe it's a fountain of some type.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they have the odd bodies, because they're young women or just barely.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they're older women that are changing into young
Yeah,
women. Maybe that's why they
maybe.
all look the same, because
Yeah,
they're
maybe.
turning the same age, perhaps. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess you could argue that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can get down with the whole. And then the drawings, you know, like I said, they had landscapes
Yeah.
and ramparts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're saying is the map to
The Fountain
the
of
Fountain
Youth.
of Youth, perhaps.
Mhm,
I don't know.
maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a stretch.
Yeah, that's a real stretch, I think.
It's a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't 100% get behind that one either.
No.
So I think that about does it.
Okay.
So you know what's coming, right?
I do.
In conclusion, baby,
Yes.
what do you think the Voynich Manuscript is?
I think it's a diary or a journal. And I think it's probably a teenage girl's. I know that when I was a teenager, I had a diary, I had a journal. I think I had a journal all the way up to my 20s. And I could see that because, you know, you doodle in your diary, you know, you draw things, you know. And I just think that that's what it was. I think it was just a journal.
I'm over here stroking my beard, staring off into the distance, like I'm wisely listening to your theory and coming up with my own.
Because think about it, even like TV shows, you hear about like the Brady Bunch or something, or I don't know, something, Family Ties or something, where somebody steals the teenage girl's diary. Oh, you stole my diary. Or
See,
you read my diary.
And we're going to go into that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, when you first proposed this theory, it kind of threw me for a loop. You caught me completely off guard. And now, because I've already heard this theory of yours, it's not as surprising to me. But still, can't ignore evidence.
Yeah.
Can't ignore evidence.
Yeah.
So, let's look at your theory more in depth. I'm going to try to play the devil's advocate here, try to be arbitrary.
All right.
The only issue I have with the whole diary thing, because to me that is either equal to or better than the last theories we just looked at.
Yeah.
To me, honestly, is the fold-outs.
Yeah, that's the only thing the fold out. I mean, but see, like in junior high and high school, we used to fold our little letters before we gave them to people.
Oh yeah, those little letters.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's I shouldn't say weird things. There are things that teenage girls did. They wrote in journals, they wrote in diaries, they drew pictures, hearts and flowers and stuff like that. And then they fold little letters.
Yeah, they would have the little letters where you had to pull a little tab out and then
like
you
a little
could
envelope and
it.
stuff. Come on, you all know.
Or they had that little game that they made with the papers, like a Pac-Man thing.
Yes, the one where 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Yeah, and then you unfold it.
Who do you marry? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Stuff like that.
You married Victory in a mansion in Hollywood,
Yeah. Or you're gonna drive a Ferrari.
Yeah, you're gonna drive a Ferrari.
Yeah. So that fold out.
I'm just thinking because it just doesn't. I don't think it's as big of a. I just don't.
The other thing is, I never had a diary. I don't know if guys keep diaries or journals. I never did. Don't you write your name on your diary?
Not necessarily, and here's the thing. Here's the thing, because if you don't want people to, sometimes diaries had like little locks and stuff, and you could have, and with the language, you could have made up your own language, because you know how people used to do Pig Latin, remember? Or they'd have their own gibberish with each other. Who knows? That girl could have written in a language that only she knew, because people would get to her diary.
Now that you're going more in depth of your theory, I'm really thinking about it. And I think I'm going to support your idea. I think the idea of it being a young, possibly teenage girl, or maybe even younger, it actually makes sense.
That was in the royalty.
It explains the doodles.
Yeah.
Which is why the drawings are so crude and rudimentary. It explains why it was touched up, because they could have been going back and reading through it.
Yeah.
It even possibly explains, like you said, they had like some kind of code that they were writing in because they didn't want people reading
to read their diary.
To read their diary, their personal thoughts. So they made up this funky language that only they had the cipher to, and we just haven't figured out what it is yet.
Correct.
It also explains some of the drawings, like the castles and the dragons. Maybe it was like a fantasy, or they're just doodles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It could even be like a teenage boy making up his own book, his own story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
I think it's a teenager.
Don't throw it away. I think the diary thing.
Yeah, I think it's a diary or a journal.
That is fascinating, baby. I agree with you. I think it's possibly a diary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but what do you think, listeners? What do you think it is?
No.
Oh.
No, they don't have an opinion.
Oh, yes, they do.
They got the answer. You solved it, baby. No, and you heard it right here, folks.
No, I didn't.
You heard it right here on Paranormal Fable or Fact. Tammy has solved the Voynich Manuscript. Thank you very much. Hands down, nothing else to see here.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about does it.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so thank you for listening. If you can give us a good review, give us a good review. If you can give us a thumbs up, give us a thumbs up on Facebook page or on wherever you listen to our podcast. Thank you for your support. And thank you for dealing with the crap that Podcastle did to us and forced us to put this show late. Post the show late, I should say.
Post it. Thank you, everybody. Good night.